As I sat here drinking my morning coffee, I had some really deep thoughts per usual, and I wanted to share what was on my mind. This past year, I had the opportunity to read Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and my only regret is not reading it sooner. It was truly life changing and very empowering. I had already followed a lot of these principles and habits within the book subconsciously based off of how I had been raised and what I've stood for in my life growing up. But this just reinforced what goes into making the life that you want and how you find purpose within this thing called life. Habit two is to begin with the end in mind. And what that means is you visualize what you want your life to look like. It's a lot of mental imagination with imagining what it might physically feel like, what you'll be like whenever you accomplish your goals and have worked towards the dreams that you have envisioned. So if you can't do that, if you have this lack of vision, purpose, imagination, it's going to be really hard for you to accomplish your goals because you can't feel it, you can't sense it, you don't know what it's going to look like in the future. When you begin with the end in mind, you're creating your personal mission statement, what you want to see within life, and ultimately what's going to drive you when things get tough and when you have to work through complicated situations to be able to achieve the vision that you had. I think back to when I was picking out a college, I could have gone anywhere. I technically could have gone to Florida, which is where I wanted to go. I could have taken out student loans. I could have been in serious student debt, but I could have gone where I wanted to go. But I began with the end in mind and thought about what life would look like if I graduated with $50,000 to $100,000 worth of student debt, and that didn't sound appealing to me. So I started thinking, like, maybe I have to make a few sacrifices and go to a college that isn't my number one pick, but that will get me through school debt free. I chose a no-name school in Fayette, Missouri called Central Methodist University because they were offering me $17,000 a year to play golf for them, and it was going to pay for the majority of my tuition, and I was going to get through college with paying only $30,000 for all 4 years due to going to junior college 1 year and then transferring and only staying there for 2.5 years. I graduated in 3.5 years. People are like, why did you graduate early? Why didn't you stay for the 4 years? I added it up in my head what it was going to cost me and my family for me to go an extra semester. Like, why not just add in a few summer classes and take 21 hours my last semester and graduate a semester early? I began with the end in mind. And then I think when I started saving money, I was probably 5 years old when I became aware that saving money was a good thing. I saved all of my Christmas money, all of my birthday money, any money I made picking up walnuts, odd jobs. I cleaned houses, started babysitting pretty early. I had the just oddest jobs, and I was always hustling from a very young age. I would save all of that money in a savings account that my parents opened with me, and I didn't know what I was saving for. I told myself, oh, I want a red Mustang when I get older, when I'm 16. It's crazy that a 5-year-old was thinking about that, but that was my dream car at the time. And then as I got older, I realized that's actually a really dumb purchase. I'm not going to spend all of my money on a red Mustang. So I continued to save. And then I got a job in college my first year as a waitress, and I saved all of that money because I was still living at home. And any babysitting jobs, nannying jobs that I had, everything was going into savings. People are like, Hannah, like, why don't you spend a bunch of money? Why don't you buy nice things? And it's because I was beginning with the end in mind. I spent my money on experiences, and I was able to travel a lot more than my friends did in college because I did have savings. And anytime we wanted to go on a spring break trip or a summer trip, our mission trip, whatever it was, I could go because I had money saved. I started to think big picture. I'm like, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to use this money for, and I'm just going to continue to save. I graduated this semester early, ended up getting married shortly after, and within the first year of marriage, we were able to buy our first house. And I could have afforded a bigger house, definitely, but I wanted to find the best deal on a house. We spent $185 on our first home, and I was able to purchase it with a really big down payment because I had saved that money since I was 5. I did deplete my savings pretty much entirely. And then when we were thinking big picture about what we wanted our lives to look like in the future, and the fact that we wanted to move to Florida, I immediately started saving money and creating a plan to keep our house in Kansas, rent it out, still have money to buy a new house in Florida and move. And I did this for years. It was like a 3 to 5 year plan, and we ended up moving in like 3 years instead of the 5, which was amazing, but I really don't think we would have ever been able to move to Florida had I not began with the end in mind. I had to visualize what that looked like and create a plan and form my life and life decisions around that plan. Ultimately, that brings me to bread. Why did I start my microbakery? It's so much more than just bread to me. It's about bringing nutritious bread to my community that's not full of preservatives and poisons. It's about creating a better life for my kids. Everything I do with a vision and an idea of what I want my life to look like in the future. I can see, I can picture, I can almost feel and sense what it will feel like when I accomplish some of the goals that I'm wanting to. For example, I really want to be a vendor at a market come winter time in Florida. I want to experience what that would look like for my family. So I'm already starting to sense and feel what it will feel like when I'm there. I can visualize the customers lining up and selling me out on a Saturday. I can visualize me working in the kitchen and making 100 loaves of bread to take to the market and selling out within 2 hours. I can feel the sense of joy and happiness and fulfillment now before it even happens. I got emotional today thinking about what it would look like to sell out at my first market because I can feel it and I know that's going to happen. I can visualize myself owning 2 acres of land with a cottage, being able to build a small standalone building for my bakery, being able to homeschool my kids and stay home with them full time. I can visualize me dehydrating my starter and sending it all over the country. I can visualize growing my YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram to thousands of people who are engaged and want to learn how to make sourdough and have this sense of purpose similar to me and want to start their own microbakery and learn from me and what I did to be able to do that. So, I'm beginning with the end in mind because I know that's what's going to make me successful. If you don't have that vision, if you don't know what your purpose is or what you're working towards, you're going to get burnt out and you're going to give up. But every single time that I've wanted to give up, I can revert back to the vision that I have. So this is just a reminder to begin with the end in mind. If you want to do something, visualize what it's going to feel like, what you're going to feel like, a sense of fulfillment, happiness, joy when you do accomplish that goal. Like always, if you enjoyed this content, please go ahead, like, and subscribe. I would love to hear from you on what your goals are in the future and how you're working towards those. I'd love to be there for you if you have questions on how to start a microbakery, anything related to sourdough, you name it. Would love to see your comments and your engagement and reply back to those. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a blessed day.